Hello and welcome. I'm Bert the Stormtrooper, and today we're going to be continuing on with our review series of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows toy line by Playmates. Next up, we've got the Technodrome Playset, and this is actually a pretty cool playset, I have to say. First off, so we see here that we have a brand new look for the Technodrome. We don't have those tracks on the bottom anymore, and we don't have that old eyeball that we're used to seeing on the Technodrome. So there are going to be some differences in the new design, but this toy here has a lot of the cues that we saw from the original toy, and we're going to be seeing that here shortly. This guy is pretty big. He's approximately 14 inches tall, about 14 inches round. So he's pretty big. He's actually a little bigger than the original Technodrome. We'll bring in the original right here, and we'll do our best to squeeze him in. So as you can see, the size of the ball itself is actually bigger than the one that we had in the original Technodrome. However, that's not to say that there's some good stuff to say about this guy, and then there's also some not so good stuff to say about this new guy. With the original Technodrome, even though it is considerably smaller, as you can see here, I feel like the original Technodrome made better use of its space, and it had more features and more play space than this newer, bigger one. That's for several reasons. One, of course, the figures were smaller in this original line, so you were able to fit more into this. And then, of course, you've got this whole base down here, and, you know, there was just more. I think it was better room management with this old one, but that's not to say that this new one is bad. In fact, we'll get this original one out of here. I'm going to have to lift it up because, yeah, this new one is quite big enough that it is taking up a lot of room on the table here, and yeah, I'm having a hard time shooting this. So, like I said, there's going to be a lot of stuff here that you're going to see that really harkens back to that old Technodrome. Now, right off the bat, you can see it's a completely round shell here, but when you come around, you've probably seen this in pictures already. We don't have a complete cover to the Technodrome. One of the sides is going to be open, which I think is a bit of a shame. I really would have liked to have seen this thing close up all the way, just like that original one did. So there he is all the way around, and you can see Krang sitting in there. I went ahead and placed him in there in his little command module. So, but yeah, this actually makes for a cool display when it's close like this. I've actually, at the end of the day, we've been setting them up with the Technodrome just closed like this with Krang in there, and I've been putting like Bebop and Rocksteady on the sides and Shredder down here. It actually makes for a pretty cool display like this. So, just so there's that. There's also the plastic on this guy, if you can see right here. See, this is kind of flimsy. It's very soft. It's kind of flimsy. It's not that hard plastic like that old Technodrome was. You drop that thing on your foot, you're probably going to cause some damage. As you can see here, this guy not so much. It's kind of soft and flimsy. And I can kind of understand what they were going for here, and I'll get a little more into that once we get closer to the end of the review here. Now, in this form, there is a feature already. If you look at the bottom of the Technodrome right here, on the bottom of the page, you're going to see there are some wheels. So in this closed mode, what you can do is you can roll them around, and the Technodrome is going to kind of swivel side to side, as you can see there. It just kind of does like this drone, almost like a pulling guard feature. See how it just goes from side to side. So there's that. There's one feature right there, which is pretty cool right there. Going around real quick before we open him up, you can see a lot of detail on this guy, a lot of grays, a lot of silver. It looks like, I don't know if these are, but it looks like there's gun ports everywhere on this thing. It looks like it's going to have just gun ports going all the way around, gun ports up here on the top, gun ports down here on the bottom. So if you saw this thing in the trailer, in the movie trailer, you see this thing floating above the city. So it looks like it's just going to have these lasers everywhere. And of course, there is a cannon emplacement right here on this side. And this guy does move up and down. and then going all the way around the other side. Here's some more gun emplacements. At least I think these are gun emplacements. And then there's another gun over on this side, another cannon on this side. And this side is actually posable. You can actually aim this guy around. And there's a gunner seat and all that. We're going to get into that when we open it, which is going to be right now. So, to open the Technodrome, we're going to reach right here. There's a little tab. We're going to pull on that tab, and that's going to release that side of the Technodrome, and the whole thing's going to open. And right off the bat, you're going to notice this thing is very heavy, and it's going to want to tip it over. So here's where our first similarity to the old Technodrome comes in. You can see right here, we've got this little foot right here. We're going to flip this guy down, and that is going to be our support for that side of the Technodrome shell. This thing opens up to about 2 feet tall. I mean, 2 feet wide. You can open this all the way over just like so. And that's obviously, I'm actually surprised that fit in the camera. I didn't think that was going to fit all the way. Let's get crank turn all the way around right there. There we go. So yeah, so there you go. There it is, opened all the way. Now, let's get into some of the features here. As you can see, there's not as much playroom with this guy as we had with the original. This is what I was talking about as far as making use of the space inside the drone itself. With the original, we had a whole tunnel that went on the bottom side of the under the command center here. You can see we have the center ring, just like we did with the original, and then we've got this outer shell. On the other side, we would have had the outer shell, but instead we just have the open floor space. So we do have the floor space that second shell would have had. However, we don't have that tunnel that we had in the original one with the secret entrance and the sewer connections down here. We also don't have the first floors that we had on each side of the shell. So on this side, the shell had a first floor that was kind of like a weapons room. And then what would have been the shell on the other side, the first floor, had like this torture chamber for the turtles where you would ooze them and whatnot. So, however, some of the features are included in this guy. For example, I talked about the tunnel, the secret entrance. There is a secret entrance on this guy. So it's going to be right up here on the top of this side. You just pull this panel open, and there you go. That's your secret entrance into the Technodrome so that the turtles can sneak in. And we'll grab Mikey here real quick. And the turtles can use this entrance right here to kind of sneak into the Technodrome right there. Now, a couple other things that we've got here. If you remember on the original Technodrome, the second story here was kind of like Krang's room, the one from the cartoon, and you had that red floor that opened up. Also, you could take out the floor, and it was supposed to be kind of like a trapdoor, except that it was too small, and none of the figures would really fit in there. Well, we've got that here. We're going to reach right under, and then this is, according to the box and the instructions, this is a slide. So this pulls down, and this is supposed to be like a trapdoor and a slide. Now, there isn't really a release for this right here. There's a couple of ways that you can do this. You can stand your turtle here, and we'll see if we can get him standing straight. So you can stand your turtle there, and this floor piece is just kind of tabbed in on both sides. So you can try to pull down on this, but more than likely, if you try to pull down on this, you're just going to knock the figure over. I find that if I just kind of tap on the floor, it just kind of drops down, and then the turtle can drop down that way. And then this is supposed to be like some kind of a slide. So I guess you could pretend that the slide will go down into the jail cell, which we're going to look at in a minute. So you could pretend that, let's just open this real quick. If you're playing with it, you could pretend that your turtle would just come in through your secret entrance here, but they got detected. They went down the trapdoor and down this system of slides that would throw them into the jail. So that's pretty cool. That's one way to play with it. Another thing that you can do, and I find that this works best, is I just roll up the slide, and then I just kind of bring the floor up, but I don't really tab it into place. And then if the turtles were to be sneaking in, of course, they would do their superhero landing. So when they did, the floor would drop out from under them, and they would go through. So there you go. There's just a couple of options of how you can play with this guy right here. And we'll go ahead and open up the slide one more time so that we're showing that. Next, I am going to move around to the other side of the ring right here. So we saw that on the outside of the Technodrome here, we've got this floor space like here, like this platform right here. And on the original toy, this would have been like Shredder's headquarters right here, where he had that command chair and whatnot. So this actually makes for a pretty cool area. I'm gonna have to go. I'm trying to keep that open in the back so that we can get some light, but it's really not working. So what I've been doing is I've been taking, let me see, give me Rocksteady, Bebop, and Shredder. So I've been placing Krang back there, and then you can take Bebop and Rocksteady, and you can stand them up here. And then if you remember the original Technodrome, I keep bringing up the original Technodrome, and that's because I'm straight up comparing this to the original and seeing all the similarities that were brought over for this guy. Now, if you remember the original Technodrome, it had these two cannons, one on each side, and it came with this one platform that you could put on either side to have Bebop or Rocksteady or whoever, Foot Soldier or whoever you wanted, man those cannons. Well, in that, similar to that, you've got this little platform right here that opens up, and you can have a figure stand here and ride on the Technodrome while you're moving it around. So there is a platform there, and so it's very reminiscent to those original platforms, and I've been doing this as a display. So I've been displaying this guy like this with Shredder, Bebop, Rocksteady, and the Krang, and then the Turtles. I've been displaying them with the truck. So I think that actually makes for a very, very cool display. So so there's that, and then of course you've got all kinds of playroom here. So, the Turtles could come in and you can have battles for them up here or whatever. And the instructions, or the box actually talks about capturing the Shredder and placing him in the prison. So I'm not sure. Maybe the Shredder and the Krang are not going to be on the same team at least when the movie starts. Maybe they're going to be on opposing sides, so we'll see that when the movie starts. So, so you can have battles up here with the Shredder and the Turtles or Krang or whoever. You've got plenty of room up here for that. That's one thing about this platform, is that it is rather roomy. So we're going to go back around again one more time, and we're going to take a look at these cannons. So I mentioned on this side, you've got these dual cannons, and this guy, you can actually move these guys up and down. So you can aim them, and then there are two buttons right here on the top, one on each. And let's see, we'll get Shredder standing here. And let's see if I can make this happen without losing these missiles. I don't think it's going to happen. So anyway, you can point these down, and you can press on these buttons here, and there you go. I actually knocked them over. I'm surprised that worked. One more time. There you go. So, and they actually fire off with a pretty good amount of force, so that's pretty cool. That works very, very well. And then on the other side, you've got another cannon emplacement. Now, one more time, if you remember with the original Technodrome, you had two gunner seats. You had a whole platform here on the top, next off of each side of the command center. And then you had these two seats that were gunner seats, so you could have foot soldiers or mutants or whoever manning your cannon. So obviously that's not happening this time around. This guy would be kind of more of an automated cannon. But on this side over here, we do have a chair. Now, I've tried several different figures on here. I tried the foot soldier, and he didn't really work. He was kind of small. But for whatever reason, Mikey just seems to be the perfect size. He will fit on this chair rather well, and then you can place his hands around these handles. He got a handle on each side, and I just shot the missile. It's something that I do every time. I don't know why I continue to try and put figures in here with a missile in there. But there you go. You can see the figure on the actual chair itself holding on to that cannon. So now we can have Mikey point the gun in any direction here, and you can see actually, let's take Mikey off real quick. You can see that the gun is mounted on a ball joint, so you can tilt it side to side, you can also aim it side to side, and you can point it up and down. So there you go, I was stuck on something. So as you saw, you can take any figure and sit him down there. And then once again, we'll go around to this side, and as you can see, you can move the gun up and down, side to side, all over the place. And one more time, you can just shoot it off right there. Comes out with quite a bit of force as well, so it shoots really, really nicely. So let's see, though, that's the guns. And then one last thing we got to show is the prison. And the prison is very cool because this is very, very reminiscent of our original Technodrome. one more time. So we'll bring in the turtles. Let's see, we'll bring in Leo, and we'll stand them up here. And what happens here? So we've got our command center there where we can stand up the Krang, or we can put any figure in there that may be trying to take over the Technodrome. And what happens here is, let's get this opened up here. I like to open this up just to have some light in there. It just kind of seems to open up the room some more. So what we do here is we're going to press on this red button right here, and our figures go down into this jail cell. And the jail cell is actually, when you open up on this guy, it's actually quite roomy. And then you can just take that panel right there and bring it right back up again. You can hear it click, and we're ready to trap our next figure. And the jail cell is actually very roomy in there. I can actually fit my entire hand in there. So you can put a couple of figures. You may be able to grab a couple of these turtles and just kind of put them in prison. In fact, he's big enough that the prison is big enough that if we take our Krang and sit him down up there, and he will actually fall all the way through and fit inside the jail cell. So that's pretty cool. Normally, one issue with playsets, it's typically that jail cells are very small and they can barely fit one figure. But in this case, that's actually pretty cool that you can fit a couple. And just because the box says so, we'll put Shredder up here. And the box talked about trapping the Shredder and sending him to the prison, so we'll just do that as well. And we'll press the red button, and there's Shredder now in prison in our prison cell. There you go. So I really like that a lot. So you can see a lot of the play features were brought over from the original Technodrome. I feel like some of the playroom might be missing in terms of we are missing the whole half of the dome on that side over there, but we do have that platform, so at least we have that much. And then, of course, we're missing one floor of play area on each side. So we don't have the first floor over here, and we don't have what would have been the first floor over on that side. But other than that, I think it's not bad. I can kind of understand what was going on here, and I'll explain. So at first, this was both my daughter and I, we thought we weren't going to like this. This seemed, when we saw pictures of this online and we saw a couple of reviews, and we really thought we were not going to like this because it just seemed like a watered down version of the original Technodrome, which is one of our absolute favorite playsets, and we play with it all the time. So we really weren't quite sure. We didn't really think we were going to like this. However, after sitting down, having it in hand, and playing with it for a while, it kind of grew on us. And I think the reason is because, well, they brought over a lot of those features that you remember from that old Technodrome. So it's kind of cool to see that happening here. And as you can see, you can still just kind of place everybody everywhere, and it makes for an okay, you actually have quite a bit of room to play around up here and just kind of recreate your own scenes. So it works. It really does work. Now, I can understand, like, at first, my first reaction to this was, wow, they cheaped out and they left out all, the other half, and they left out all these floors and all of that. However, consider the price point on this guy is $40. This costs the same as that turtle truck was. So for that price point, they've actually done rather well. And I understand what they're going for here is because, me personally, I would be willing to pay $60 or even $80 for this toy if it had the whole other side of the dome, even if it had the two halves that split open just like the original, maybe have a little bit of harder plastic, all these things that we're looking at going, hey, these things are missing. If those features were on this toy, I personally would be willing to pay $60 or $80 for something like that. However, that's going to be the minority. That's going to be us collectors and us fanboys that remember these toys from the 80s. Most of your kids and the young kids' parents that are watching this movie now and they're watching the new cartoons and whatnot, this toy at $40 is going to be a lot easier to buy than if it was $60 or $80. Think about it. How many kids did you know growing up that had the Technodrome. I did not have the Technodrome growing up, and I did not know anybody that knew that had the Technodrome. My little cousins had the blimp, and they were like the big cheese on their street because they were the ones that had like the biggest, most expensive toy, which was the blimp. I never knew anybody that had the Technodrome. So the Technodrome was somewhat rare because it was such a high price point that it really kind of became one of those things that hardly anybody had it. This guy at $40 is going to be a very, very easy buy. It's very easy for parents to get this at 40 bucks and hand it over to their kids. So I completely understand. And it's still, with the stuff that's missing, it still makes for a very fun playset. And my 11-year-old daughter, same thing goes with her. Like I mentioned, when I found this at the store, I took a picture and I sent it to her. She texted me back and responded, "I hope it's not as crappy as it looks online." That was her response to me. Now, this is my 11-year-old daughter who has a near complete set of the current Nickelodeon Turtles. She's huge Turtle fan, biggest Turtle fan I've ever known, even bigger than me at that age. So that was her reaction. And after I put it together and I put it out on the table and I just handed it to her and let her play with it for a couple of hours. And I asked her, "What do you think of it now?" And her response was, "I like this. I really like this. This is a lot of fun to play with." You know, she had all the figures out and she had the turtle truck out and she was just out there playing and having a good time. And that's what they're going for. So I think in that sense, this playset succeeds. It's fun. It's kid tested. Kids like it. Kids said it was fun. So I think they did it. And you know what? In the day and age when we don't get as many play sets as we typically do, or as we used to, it's cool to see that play sets are making a comeback and that kids are liking them and having a good time with them. So yeah, it's a cool toy. It definitely won me over. And if you're not quite sure about this, just try to get it in hand or try to get together with somebody who has it. Get it in hand and check it out. If you're getting it for a kid, let the kid play with it. You'll see they're going to have fun. They're going to like it. So I think the toy succeeded, and it's a lot of fun, and I am certainly enjoying the heck out of it. My daughter and I are playing a lot with it, and we're having a great time. So I think with that, we've pretty much covered and gone on and on and on about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows Technodrome playset. What did you think of this playset, and what would you like to see me review next? Let me know by leaving me a comment, give me some thumbs up, subscribe and share with your friends if you like what you see, and I'll talk to you next time.